Hey guys, this is Myleek. This is the My Taught You podcast, and I am here today with an extra special interview with one of my Instagram favorites, Kevin Curry, founder of FitMenCook. Before I let you speak, Kevin, I'm gonna get through your bio. He is one of the most popular healthy food bloggers and has one of the largest social communities in the world. In 2012, overweight and working long hours in corporate America, Kevin knew he needed to make a change in his diet. Kevin's message is simple. Our bodies are built in the kitchen, sculpted in the gym. We're going to fast forward to today. Kevin has more than 2 million social media followers, over 25 million YouTube views, and is the founder of one of the top selling food and drink apps, FitMenCook, which has more than 1 million downloads worldwide. Kevin's goal through FitMenCook is to inspire people to live a healthier, more balanced lifestyle without compromising on taste and flavor. One of the main reasons why we're talking today is a little under a month from now, on December 4th, Kevin will be releasing his brand new cookbook, Fit Men Cook, where he shares over, and this blew my mind, 100 easy, quick meal prep recipes that will save you time, money, and inches on your waistline, helping us to get healthy on our own terms. Kevin's book shares everything you need to live a healthy lifestyle each day, from, and we're going to get into this, grocery lists to common dieting pitfalls to his 10 commandments of meal prep, as well as his personal story of overcoming depression and weight gain to start a successful business and fitness movement. Okay, Kevin. Wow. That's a lot.
What's going on?
Yes, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So, I am a huge fan of yours. I have been for a long time. I think I found you by way of Instagram. I am better because I think I like cooking. I'm better at sort of dieting than I am at going to the gym. So I'm always looking for people who are making healthy things that look good, which I think you are a master of.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I tell you what, that's how I got fit myself, just starting out in the kitchen because I was like most people trying to work out so many hours of the day and not looking at the results and not seeing the results in my body. But I tell you what, once you start cooking in the kitchen and
Mhm.
really get your food up, oh my God, the weight just literally begins to fall off of you.
That I love that. So a lot of my listeners, I want to start at the beginning, have been sort of sold this dream by their families or even society in some cases. They figure they're going to graduate from college, the more prestigious, the better, and the success follows just as soon as you're done. I read that after you graduated from Harvard, you just knew all the good things were going to be coming your way. What happened, Kevin?
Yeah. A lot of stuff happened after Harvard. I was I actually bought into that dream too, that like everything was just going to be okay, and I was
Hmm.
going to be on the up and up. Um, and the stock market crashed in 2008. At the beginning of that school year too, I actually had a pretty bad breakup.
Okay.
It was not a happily ever after. So that with
Okay.
the stock market crash, I found myself back at square one. So I
Hmm.
actually worked in Boston for a few more months and then went back home to Dallas. And where I grew up, my family does well, but we're definitely not a rich family at all, like by any
Okay.
means. And so we, in fact, growing up, I would help my family out just the same way that other people kind of do. And so
Hmm.
I don't have a safety net. All
Okay.
that to say. So one of the things that I had to do was when I got back is I actually had to go on welfare and got my
What?
food stamps. Yeah, got my food stamps, and it was one of the most humbling things that I've
Mhm,
ever done, but also one of the most eye-opening ones as well. And
mhm,
I tell this part of the story because it actually does influence a lot of the health and wellness journey. At the time, I'm going to just fast forward here. When I
yep,
decided to really start getting into fitness and really looking at my diet and examining it, I was going to places like half price books because stuff was much cheaper there and
mhm,
buying stuff about like nutrition and learning how to put together a diet.
right.
And so with the limited income, all I had were just my food stamps at the time.
Wow, yeah,
So that taught me a lot about creativity. It taught me how to be creative with like a very small budget.
mhm,
So all of that really influenced my journey. in a really significant way.
Yeah, that's I got a lot of questions about sort of how to be fit with a limited income, and so
Yeah.
um, one of the I was in the last semester of college for me. I took a nutrition course because it fit my schedule best, and I remember raising my hand in class and kind of being like, I can't afford to be healthy. And I remember the teacher fired back at me and was like, "How much is a bag of black beans?" And, at
Right.
the time, I think they may have been 89 cents or 99 cents, And so I guess before I move on, because you were on welfare, what sort of things were you buying? What are cheap ways for us to eat healthy? Because it it does seem expensive.
Right. It is expensive. Finished healthy goods are really expensive. I'll put it that way.
True.
The raw
Finished.
finished goods, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Those are pretty pricey. But the raw ingredients and what we're talking about really are not. And
Mhm.
so really, as much as I didn't have time to cook, I also couldn't afford not to cook. Per se.
Right.
So that actually
Yeah.
kinda helped me out. It kinda forced me into the kitchen in a way to say, "Hey,
Mhm.
you can't spend $75 every week on lunch. You just can't afford that." So
Yeah.
in terms of, like what I did is I actually started to buy things in bulk. So I was
Mm.
over at Sam's, I was over at Costco quite
Mhm.
often. My mom would go there and I would give her certain things to buy, if I couldn't go.
Right.
And so I would do something like, like buying almonds in bulk, buying
Mhm.
the chicken breasts in bulk. A funny thing here is a lot of people ask me about organic produce and what's my take on that. This is the
Yeah.
first time I've actually said this, actually, like,
Okay.
out loud, but part of the reason why I never bought organic produce is because I could never afford it. So I never
Right.
really bought into this hype that, like, you've gotta buy organic produce in order to be healthy
Mhm.
because I was losing weight and feeling great with just
Mhm.
buying the regular produce.
Right.
So
So
I kinda realized that there was a difference, though, when we're talking about the higher quality meat. So when I
okay.
stopped so I tell people now, if you want to save money and budget, and you do eat meat, then I would highly advise you to spend the bulk of your money on buying high quality protein if you are.
Okay.
Um, there are people out there that will disagree with that, and people are really gung ho about the whole organic produce. But I just have not seen a significant difference, and not really too many studies out there that show that it's actually worth it.
Same.
Part of it, pardon.
I said same. Agreeing. I haven't
You
either.
know,
Yeah.
so part of it is just, the perception of people using pesticides and other types of chemicals in order to clean things. But I mean, to be quite honest, we put far, far worse in our bodies. So I'm really,
Yeah.
so it's
Yes,
really
we
funny how these
do.
people will say, "Oh my God, this is disgusting." I was like, "You take all these supplements,
Right.
bro, you can't."
You can't right. Don't try it. Um,
Right.
yeah.
But in terms of budgeting though, spend it on the higher quality protein, on things that are like grass fed, because that part is actually pretty important. And you'll notice like a big difference in taste too whenever
Mhm.
like you cook those. My skin began to clear up.
Mm.
Um, I felt better whenever I started to purchase higher quality protein.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on the same page with you is that I will focus on the higher quality meats. I do this is a lot of I feel like this is we could talk about working out, we can talk about food, diet and all that, but it seems like your lifestyle changes and success went hand in hand. What do you think changes for us internally, Kevin, when we make the decision and commitment to live healthier? Do you feel like what do you think changes?
Your mentality and your
Mhm.
perspective. That's such a brilliant question because I deal with and work with people a lot on the element of change, and I can always tell the person who's ready to actually
Mhm.
make a change and the person who's not.
Okay.
And the person who's ready to make that change, they have their whole perspective and their mentality and their approach to living is different. They're not really trying to they have an end goal in mind, right?
Right.
They can see what they want their life to look like in the future, but they're not hurried and rushed to get there.
Mm.
And so my advice, that's always the best approach.
Okay.
And the reality is everyone is going to learn that lesson because they're going to try to do everything at once and
Right.
fail. Everyone
Yeah.
has to do that. Everyone has to go through this hazing process. So
Mhm.
what I tell people is that whenever you're ready to make a change, just start making a change. So what that looked
Okay.
for me was I was always weight cycling, going back and forth between being overweight and skinny because I didn't know how to do stuff, and I would just start running a whole bunch.
Okay.
But and I got tired of that. So what it looked like for me was like, hey, all right, Kev, you are spending a lot of money at lunch, and this is where maybe like you can begin, right?
Okay.
So I just started out prepping my lunch and did that for
Nice.
about 2 or 3 weeks. And
Okay.
then guess what happened? I got my confidence up. I felt good.
Mhm.
I felt really confident that I could, hey, you know what, Kev, like this is going well. You actually lost some weight this week.
Yeah.
Why don't you try to do breakfast? And then why don't you try to do your post workout meal? And little by little, I began to make these small changes to my diet and to my lifestyle. And to all of a sudden, I mean, like literally, it just happened that my regular diet was a healthy diet. Like everything that
Yeah.
I was doing was healthy. And it wasn't that I was trying to, it just kind of happened. But that
Right.
is the compounded effect of healthy eating and healthy living. You know this. Whenever you eat
Yes.
something, whenever you exercise, you're like, damn, I feel just healthy. Feel good, you know?
You do.
You just
And then
say,
right, and then you're like, "Let me go get a green smoothie." Oh, let me not.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. All of a sudden, let me go drink some green real quick. I'm feeling myself, you
Yes,
know? And,
definitely. Yes.
it's so that's why it's so important to start small and do
Yes.
those small things and to celebrate your
Mhm.
success, like yourself, and then to continue to build on that. You don't have to go and do everything at once. I call that the boiling the ocean approach.
Oh, it's a good
Little
one.
by little, we're just going to heat up the entire ocean.
Yep.
Little by little.
Yeah, that's amazing. That you answered my question because I was going to say, do you remember the first step you took to become healthier? Because I feel like my first step was, and I love to share this with people, is I just stopped drinking soda. I stopped drinking
Mm,
soda and then I stopped drinking juice. And what I would do is like I started cutting the juice. So I would just
yeah,
put half water, half lemonade. And then, I got to the point that everything started to taste too sweet. So,
yeah,
and I do agree with you. It's like there's something about working out and like you're like, you know what? I'm gonna have my green juice. I'm gonna take the stairs. And before you know it, you're just even if it feels fake, it's like you're feeling like, oh no, I'm that girl. I eat salads at lunch. And
I
I
love it.
do now. It's like I'm in my workout clothes. It is so true. But I read that you blew up kind of on social with your banana split recipe. Is that
Yeah,
true?
yeah.
What do you think it was about that recipe that began the sort of Fitmen cook rage?
A couple things. I think that maybe it was a unique approach to something that I was already kind of doing. So what it was is I would go running every single morning or walking around the block as part of my mental and my wellness routine.
Okay.
And every day after that, and like after that, every morning I would have this banana split, and it was just a banana with some Greek yogurt, some granola, some cacao chips, and then some
Okay.
blueberries.
Okay.
Really simple. And I put that on to IG and Tumblr, I believe, and people really liked it. And I think that visually, it was this idea of taking something that's historically or like traditionally seen as this really decadent, high calorie, saturated fat type of dish and flipping it. And it was still just as vibrant. It looked delicious. It looked filling as well. And the best thing is, it looked healthy. So I think
Mhm.
that was part of it. It was in that era really didn't exist quite yet in social media. This was around 2012,
Okay.
late 2012 when that happened. And then the second thing that kinda happened was that was also posted around the time, I believe, around, like, the New Year time. So it was, like, between the later months, between like November, December, January. And what happens at the top of the year is that everyone is trying to go ahead and get fit. So you got this
Mhm.
picture that was posted that everyone's like sharing around. Plus, it just so happens this kind of hit like a nerve with people like, I need to get my life together. I'm trying. And
Yes.
that just kind of happened. And then just people just began to follow me even more.
Yeah, that's I feel like right now you are sort of living the current American dream. You quit your job or you didn't have a job, and you're successful doing what you love. You're huge on social. I feel with a lot of my listeners, I feel like they kind of want to skip some of the steps,
Right.
and not really understanding that a lot of people who are popular were prepared. How do you believe, like maybe your education or even one of your first jobs or some of your first jobs help prepare you for this moment? Because there's no way all these companies. I mean, you got deals on top of deals on top of deals. I saw you with Michelle Obama. I'm just like, seriously?
Yeah, it actually prepared me quite a bit.
Okay.
You know, I looking back, it's easier to kinda put the pieces together, but when you're in it and when you're in the thick of it, sometimes you don't really realize that things are happening for a reason. So I know people always say that, but it actually does. And we're all on the path that we're supposed to be on right now, and you just gotta
Yep.
realize that and accept that and embrace that. There is purpose in everything that you're doing. So for me,
Yes.
actually working in corporate America really did prepare me. One of my best bosses, I ended up getting a job, and I was doing quite well at it. And then I got a job offer from Google, and
Ooh.
yeah, and it was right about the time where I was thinking, is like, hey, should I quit this job to go and do FitMenCook? But at the same time, Google is also asking me, "Hey, can you come be a product manager?" And one of my old bosses gave me some of the best advice that I have ever had in my entire lifetime. And he said, "Kevin, first off, if you're coming to me to ask me if you should be taking the job over at Google, then that just shows that you don't want to take that job already because nobody turns them down for a job.
Mhm.
Secondly,
Wow.
everybody keeps talking about this cool thing that you're doing called like FitMenCook. I'm not sure what it is because I'm old. I'm not on social media, but
Mhm.
it sounds like it's a pretty cool thing. So here's what I tell you: you walked away from our company, and I'd hire you back today. But
Mm.
here's the thing about doing this is that at the end of the day, you want to be able to set your grandkids down on your knee and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, here's this really cool thing that I did called FitMenCook. Here's how I effed it all up." Or here's how I did it well. Now you go do something better. And that
Mm.
really made a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
And I bring that up for a reason because like part of starting is being courageous enough to go out there and put yourself out there in a brand new way. So when he
Yeah.
said that, something kind of clicked in my mind. It was like, I just got to go and do this. I don't have a safety net like with my parents. I just kind of got stable financially, but you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go for it.
Yep.
You sacrifice so much already in school and with student loans and everything else and your different internships. You do all those things not to sit down and to sit quietly in someone's corner. You do it so you can take risks, so you can
Yes.
put yourself out there. And I want people to know that about
Mm.
themselves, that you are dope enough, that you are
Mhm.
dope enough to go out there and create real change in the world in whatever avenue you want. But you just got to first take that first step. So
Yep.
that's what that looked like for me. Um, that boss taught me how to work smart and not necessarily hard. So there are different things that just being like an entrepreneur, you think it's
Mm.
going to get easier for you because you can make your own schedule. It's actually
Ugh.
not.
Not.
It's not at all.
Yep.
So it taught me how to multitask, how to bring people in, how to work with people across teams. One of the biggest things that it's helped me out with is actually how to engage and having
Okay.
social skills. So this is important for people to understand too, especially if you're a blogger out there listening to this podcast, is that it's I'm still getting used to this idea that like a large part of the success that I've had too with brand partners and working with other brands is that um, I actually know how to engage with them.
Okay.
So, and what that looks like for me is that I'm a really enthusiastic person just by like nature. I love
Yes.
And if we got into the call like right now and we wanted to start something, I would have ideas for days, just throwing stuff at the wall to find out like what sticks because that curiosity really drives me.
Okay.
You know that there aren't people out there that don't pitch that don't pitch to corporations.
Oh, I yes, I do know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want the bloggers out there to know that money is just sitting there. Opportunity is just sitting there waiting for you to do it.
Yep.
But I would say it's probably like about 10% of
Yeah.
bloggers out there that actually actively engage with corporations.
A lot of people are sitting around, they get to a point where people come to them, but I
Right?
think I think some of the maybe smaller or more up and coming bloggers don't realize that companies are looking for micro influencers as well. They're looking for people with new ideas, like people who are willing to do things different because let's just say your platform's small, they can introduce you to theirs, you
Right.
know? So you can't be afraid. You can't be like, "Oh, well, I'm not like Kevin, so I'm not even going." Like, they can see that you have a deal with someone. Well, I'm not big enough. It's like that doesn't matter.
Absolutely. It's all that. And here's some good news for the micro influencer these days. And by micro, I'm just saying that maybe your following is not as large today, right now in this moment.
Mhm.
There's beginning to be a huge shift in social media where the brands are actually backing away from larger influencers and going much more
Yep.
the micro influencer route because the perception of authenticity is there.
Yep. That's exactly it.
So
That is so get
if you're
out
sitting
there.
around, yeah, and
Mm.
people, don't get me wrong, people pitch us all the time, and I say no more often than not, just because like when I was overweight and I was really trying out with this, trying to get healthy, I
Mhm.
promised myself that like I would only do things that I actually believe in
Yep.
if I had the opportunity. So that's why you don't see too many brands come across my page, and everything that is come across my page, it's been tested several
Yeah.
times over by me.
I
Like there's no product that I will ever endorse or ever be sent to me without me trying it out first. And sometimes it can be kind of frustrating for brands to know that, but I just think it's really important because I was that dude that spent so much money on products because somebody told me to. I'm that guy.
right.
If you tell me to go buy,
Yes.
I'm buying it. I
Me
I do
too.
that.
Yes. That is exactly. It's in my cart. I'm on Amazon. I'm buying it right this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've learned how to kind of find like that balance, and so so the point of all that is
Mhm.
those skills I learned from the corporate America, corporate America, working with people in different consulting projects, working across cultures, and actually leading projects. Really have helped me out today because those are the same skill sets that I use on a daily basis.
Okay. So that's the thing. I always feel like you'll see someone and you'll think they blew up overnight, but they've got a lot going on behind them. And so I have to ask you this because I'm wondering if there are any sort of food blogger secrets that you'll share with me, even if it's just one. I recently went to the home of a very popular food blogger, and I was blown away that when I got there, that there was like an assistant there preparing like the ingredients
Yeah.
for lunch, and that there was a photographer there. So, is there anything you're willing to share with us to maybe help someone get to the next level, or is it all top secret?
No, no, definitely it's
Mm.
not top secret. I think that, you know, if first off, if you're trying to get into food blogging, then just know first off that it is one of the more expensive forms of blogging, not
Oh
just in
wow.
food costs, but just in the time it takes.
Okay.
So, just know that. And I say that because whatever you start doing right now, like if you start out on the high end trying to do everything that looks like super picture perfect and camera ready and looks like it could be like
Yeah.
a magazine, that's great stuff. That's really expensive in terms of like your time and whatnot, but that's something that you're gonna have to keep up.
Yep.
So whatever you start right now, make sure that you can maintain. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just laughing because I love your photos, and I remember when I first started, like, because I love like cooking on social, and everybody's like, "Why don't you do a book or something like this?" And I
Yeah.
remember just looking at your pictures, like I would make some of the stuff that you made, and I'm like, all his stuff's brighter than mine. Like I remember I had the no cheats cookbook, and I'm like, dang, I made that, and like all his everything looks, all your veggies look better, and I'm sure it's because you not obviously there's editing, but you're getting the best produce, right? And maybe my bell pepper's been in the fridge for 2 days, and so I'm just like, it's true. I feel like you can't. I couldn't commit to that. I laugh because I'm like, I didn't even think about that, but like, yeah, because you want everything to look good.
Yeah, yeah, you do. And in terms of the brightness, I actually have a part of my condo here, it's a big garage door wall.
Mhm.
So, there's lots
Okay.
of natural light coming in.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I film over there, and so the best light for stuff is always gonna be, like, natural light. You can try to reproduce that, but I can guarantee your colors will always pop, under natural light. So if you're listening to this and you're a blogger, go for the natural light. Um,
Okay.
you know, here's some insight from the cookbook, and this is pretty standard too, depending on what you're doing, especially if it's something for, like, video. The standard recipe, let's say that I post a meal and I say, "Hey guys, this is a $10 meal," right?
Mhm.
That
Okay.
recipe probably cost me 50 bucks.
Really?
Yeah, that's the average cost of it because when you are and this is for the cookbook, whenever you look for ingredients, you've gotta make sure that they're not, like, bruised, that they're crisp looking. Um,
Mhm.
Oftentimes, whenever you're filming stuff, you have to do swap outs. So
Oh,
we'll make the recipe, like, ahead of time, and then that way it
okay.
cuts down the time that we're filming it, and we'll just swap it
Okay.
out and put it back into the skillet. Most of the stuff from a top-down view is made in real time, so that kinda helps out, but it's a common thing to go ahead and do that. It's common,
Okay.
to do swap outs. So, you're buying maybe at least 2 or 3 of each item just in case something happens in filming, especially with the video, and also you just
Yeah.
need stuff just for staging. Um,
Right.
so the average price is easily $50. I'd say a good range would be $30 to $50 per recipe.
Whoa. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's a labor of love, but it's something that's super rewarding, and I also
Completely.
find that recipe writing and recipe blogging and food blogging in general, not only is it therapeutic, but it's an art form. I love the old IG where it's easier for me to find a lot of the other food bloggers out there.
Yeah.
But I love everyone's, the various approaches to things,
I do too. I do
how
too.
they're telling their story, and I'm very keen to see that. I could tell you the people, like, who they got that from.
Okay. Okay. So you know whatever because I'm always sitting here thinking like everybody's like, Malik, you love to cook, you should do a cookbook. And I'm like, I don't have that much in my head, you know? And I guess, but you're like, very few people do. I guess a lot of people are hacking things, making things healthier, which I'm glad they're taking the time to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a brilliant idea for you to do a
Hmm.
cookbook. I think that, we often discount, like, how many, if people would actually go and buy that. I think, first off, I would buy it. I
Oh,
think
thanks,
the
Kevin.
listeners would buy it too, just
Mhm.
because whenever you're cooking, it's not just about, "Okay, everyone can cook chicken." Yeah, but we're trying to figure out, like, your creative approach, like,
Right.
what's gonna be different about yours, or even the photography, or even the storytelling.
True.
Oftentimes, it's not just the recipe, but it's also the story behind it.
That's
Um,
true. Okay. Don't before you because I don't want to run out of time. I want to talk about this book.
yeah,
FitMenCook, 100 plus. That's a lot of money, Kevin. 100 plus meal prep recipes for men and women. Always hashtag healthy AF. Never boring. I bought your book, No Cheese Needed, 4 years ago. I think I pre-ordered this book here. I think it said May or March or something. May. How did this current book come to fruition? How long did it take you to get this done? And I want to know like what we sort of can look forward to. And I'm super curious. I'll tell you what I'm curious about, and then you choose what you want to tell us.
mhm,
Super curious about the grocery list. You said you got grocery list, which I need. And the 10 commandments of meal prep, which I'm a horrible meal prepper.
yeah.
So how did this book come to fruition? And then what do you want to tell us?
Yeah, so this book is I've basically written this book for the past 6 years as a blogger.
Mm.
No Cheese Needed was something different. It was just taking the recipes that were already online and putting them into a book so that we both have that.
Okay.
And it was
Okay.
a really cool, like, passion project that I was able to
Okay.
do. This one
Okay.
is actually my first real cookbook. So these are things that people have not seen, with a
Awesome.
few, like, maybe 20-25% of them being some fan favorites.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do with this cookbook was to take all the different lessons that I learned from the followers and put them into one cohesive book. So that's why the first part of the book, it talks a lot about my journey, how I got here, the different pitfalls to healthy eating, and then the 10 commandments of meal prep. And the 10 commandments of meal prep are just basically based off of emails and messages from people
Okay.
about how they can simplify this process. So I thought, well, what is a creative way that I can get people to kind of ease their way into this lifestyle? So I came up with the 10 commandments of things that you have to know
Okay.
about like meal prepping. Thou shalt save time. Thou shalt multitask.
Mm.
Not waste food, and there are tips throughout.
Okay.
So this has been something that's been a labor of love. The funny thing about about the book, I just realized this, is that I actually wrote this book about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So it's just now coming out today. Um, and it's going back through the recipes, it's amazing to see how much I've kind of grown even in this
Yes.
time. I was like, oh, why did I do this? I can't believe I put that in there. Why'd you? Oh my god, I can't believe you did this, Cam. But I
Yeah.
still stand behind the book. But it's just as a creative
Yes.
person, you're always so critical
Yes.
of it,
Right.
but
Yes.
you love it at the same time.
I get it. If you're just starting out building your small business, you might be freaked out with all the business admin stuff you have to figure out. My advice is, and this might sound a little harsh to hear, but nobody owes you any answers. It's up to you to summon the resilience and resources to get your paperwork sorted and keep it sorted. Although I'm leaning in with some tough love, our sponsor FreshBooks is anything but tough to use, that is. You see, FreshBooks makes cloud accounting software that's so ridiculously easy to use, even for those of you that are intimidated by numbers. You can create and send a professional looking invoice in about 30 seconds. When you connect FreshBooks to your bank account, it will generate expense reports from what you charge to your credit or debit cards. Is that not going to make tax time a million times easier for you? FreshBooks can also show you exactly when a client has looked at your invoice after you've sent the email. Oh, and you can automate late payment reminders when a client hasn't paid you on time. You can check out FreshBooks free for 30 days without a credit card, which is really rare. All you have to do is go to freshbooks.com/mytaughtyou and enter My Taught You in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Okay, so you look back on this and you're just like, I'm the same way. Like I'll do things from like 2 years ago and I'm just so embarrassed. Like, oh my God, I talk like that. But you did this 2 years ago and I'm certain things have changed, but I'm really looking forward to the book because with trying to keep up with everything on Instagram, I know that I'm missing things.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't share everything that's in the book. Well, first off, the stuff that's in the book has not been shared on Instagram yet.
Perfect.
So these are things that are brand new recipes.
Okay.
About 25% of them, of the 100, are
Mhm.
like fan favorites, and that was because the publisher really wanted that, because there are two different worlds out there too. There's the one in the social
Yeah,
world where I really exist, and then the traditional. So this is like kinda like my bridge between the two. So
makes
bringing
perfect sense.
and
Yeah.
I would hope that the people that still follow me in social would go out and actually buy the book and support it. We're doing really well so far. So far so
Okay.
good with the pre-orders. We're really trying to get those numbers up. I'll talk a little bit too about the artwork behind the book. You know,
Okay.
one thing that was really important for me was just to have my presence in there, and I'll tell you for two reasons. Um, the first reason is, like, I'm known for videos, so I didn't want just some static images of food. I wanted them to be action shots. So I really was working heavily with the stylist. I was there every single day for 2 weeks as we took all of these photos. And I was
Really?
there in the oh yeah, I was there directing there and in the actual photos, putting my hands there. Let's put this. And it was funny. She said that this was one of her favorite projects, because I told her to be messy in the kitchen.
Oh,
She said, "What does that
awesome.
mean?" I said, "I don't want." It's like, "You keep." This lady does all the stuff for like Neiman Marcus, for Williamson,
Oh,
all those.
yeah.
And I said, "No, I want crumbs on the table. I want you to spill this sauce. I want this to look like I did it, but also people at home do it, because there's a lot of beauty too in just the messiness of it a little bit,
Yeah.
and just the rawness." So that was one thing that I really wanted to convey. And the second thing, culturally, I just this was, and my publisher got this too. I don't think that they maybe got it, in quite the same way, but it was really important to me too, just to show my presence in the book as an African American,
Yep.
showing them hands. I said, I want my hands in these photos. Kevin, there's too much hands. I don't think so. There's not enough if you ask me. There's
You
not
gonna
enough.
see these hands,
You
okay?
will see these hands all throughout this book because I want people to know. I also, with the rate of diabetes and heart disease being, the
Mhm.
highest within Black and brown communities, um, and me just kind of being like a singular per se in this field, um, I just wanted to make sure that that was not that didn't fall on deaf ears and that was not ignored. Um, and I'd love to see us portrayed in different lights.
Yeah.
And cooking has
I
been something that, maybe has been seen as much more feminine, and also healthy cooking is just there's not too many of us. So we're always talking about soul food and higher calorie Southern food and things like that, which are
mhm,
all great. But
but
I wanted to see that presence here in the book as well.
yeah, it look I'm excited. I can't wait to get mine. Like I said, I'm counting down. It's a little under a month. I do want to get to some of my questions from Instagram. You
Yep.
you are very popular amongst my following, and I think I've got some fun questions. So I've got about five. So
Okay.
question number one is, what do you believe is the most underrated vegetable? Most
Uh,
underrated. What are we sleeping on?
hmm. Actually, because I eat so many of them. This is a good question. The one that I think is really underrated would probably be zucchini. And I
Okay.
know that people are up on the whole, like, zoodle craze, but I think that we forget, first off, how, like, hydrating zucchini is. It's got a
Okay.
ton of water, and it's really easy to incorporate into recipes. So a lot of people out there, they say they hate vegetables. Well, zucchini is one of those things that it's a vegetable, it's got tons of benefits, but it doesn't really have, like, a strong taste, so it's really easy to hide into
Okay.
recipes. But I think a lot of people just miss that. One of the things that kind of blew my mind is I made up this smoothie bowl a couple months ago and
Mhm.
posted it, and it was one of those decadent like acai bowls, that people
Mhm.
like. But instead of it being high in sugar, the base was actually the zucchini, and you
Really?
can't taste it. So it's very filling, and it provided volume, but it didn't compete with the sugars from the fruit. It just made it
Wow.
plentiful,
Okay.
and
I
it was
gotta
lower in sugar that way. And so similarly, it can do the same thing whenever you're doing like a savory recipe. Adding in a bunch of zucchini can make it much more hearty, so that way, like you'll get fuller, but you're
Yeah,
also getting the benefits of the zucchini.
that's awesome. Okay, and I do love zucchini. Someone says I struggle with cauliflower rice.
Yeah.
Are there any other rice replacements?
Yeah. Any other rice replacements? Well,
Yeah. I don't really think
for
I don't know why people call it cauliflower rice. It's just like it's cauliflower.
this is
Just say
broken
that.
Dave cauliflower. Yeah. Well, let's deal with that then first. Let's talk
Okay.
about the way that you can prepare it. So in the book, I've got this basic AF cauliflower rice recipe, and
Okay.
a lot of people just put it in there raw. I like to basically cook mine up in a skillet with a little bit of olive oil and garlic and season it, and that makes it much more
Okay.
enjoyable. So
Okay.
if you're just eating it raw, that may be like one of the reasons why. There's nothing wrong with
Okay.
treating it kind of like its own like separate like recipe and doctoring it up some. Just you know, watch out for some of the
Mhm.
sodium and the Lowries. In terms of another rice replacement, one thing, and I'm guessing she's talking about that's low carb. I've been
Yes.
a big fan of the miracle noodles, of the shirataki noodles. Now,
Really?
oh, yeah, yeah, and it's made from, like, several of them are made from different things, but one's made from tofu, another one is made from the yam starch, but they all are essentially the exact same thing, zero carb or very low carb noodles, but they actually have a rice one now. It's called Miracle Rice, and it's basically
Oh,
noodles, but they've chopped them up into rice. You can get
okay.
those at a lot of grocery stores. Well, actually, well, not a lot, but just select grocery stores, you know the ones
Okay.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and that is a pretty good one. It
Okay.
gives you the texture of rice, but it's also pretty filling without all the bloat and the calories. Plus, it's easy on the digestive system too. So if
Okay.
that's something that you've been struggling with, then look into that.
Okay.
But there, I okay, go ahead.
No, you go.
Uh, I haven't seen too many other vegetables that have been turned into rice. I know that people are now trying to do like this broccoli cauliflower
Right.
rice craze, and that's just dreadful to me personally.
Okay.
You may see it on my Instagram just because I know it's a trend right now, so I may show people
Right.
that it's not as enjoyable. Here's the thing
Okay.
about rice. First off, why are you avoiding it?
Okay.
So unless you've got like some gluten allergy and something like that, um, then or there's other things wrong with it, then I mean, like with you and digesting rice, then I would say like to stay away from it. But there's nothing wrong with carbs. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with them. The carbs are not all the same. So you've got the simple and you got the complex. Of course,
Right.
I'm going to advocate for you to go with those complex ones a lot more. And
Hmm.
it's not just the brown rice. You can also do some long grain jasmine rice, which
Yeah.
is amazingly fragrant and aromatic. Same thing with basmati. In fact,
Yeah.
if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, then that's what you need to be doing. That should be your next
Yes.
challenge. What one
Yeah.
thing that I would do is that each week I would give myself a brand new challenge, and I would
Okay.
find one food just to try out brand new
Yep.
and do that with vegetables and do that with carbs.
Yeah.
And you could be trying out jasmine, basmati, bulgur wheat, farro, all of those different grains to find
Yep.
out which one you actually like and keep the portions small. You're just tasting it.
Right.
And one way that you can enjoy your rice is what I like to do, going back
Mhm.
to to the secret vegetable again, zucchini. Roast some zucchini and some red onion maybe, in a big
Mm.
pan, and then
Okay.
incorporate your small serving of rice with that and mix it together and
Such
eat
a good
that.
idea. Yeah, that's such a good idea. Um, I got a couple more. I feel like you answered one of my
Yep.
questions. So I didn't realize how many people are just absolutely curious about your status of are you with someone? So they're like, but the question I like is that would a significant other have to have a healthy lifestyle?
So answering the latter question, yes, but not in the way that most people may think.
Okay,
Um, I'm not attracted to like, fitness models and
got
like
it. So we
super um,
okay.
because well, first off, because I come from the South,
You're
and
right.
so I've
Right.
always had something, like to grab onto a little bit of something. You don't have to, I don't necessarily gotta have a whole bunch, but I'm also just
Right.
I that's just my my thing.
Right.
Um, at this current time, yes, I am single. I thought that I
I
would.
feel so glad to be able to get that out of you, but awesome.
Yeah,
You're single.
I haven't talked about that before. Yeah, I keep my private because I feel like the private life should
Yes.
be kept private. And I tell you what, here's a spoiler for your readers. Since I wrote the book about 2 years ago,
Mhm.
I actually had part of the dedication to my bae in there.
Okay.
I took that
Okay.
out, and I had to write to my future bae.
Ah! Right. Future Bay, I'm talking to you.
My future bae, and the future bae,
Mhm.
you should read that. Maybe I think it could be in the preview, that I sent you, but it's
Okay.
basically just it describes the type of life that I want
Oh, wow. I
with
have to
her.
I asked someone in my office today, did my advance come? Because I'm like, come on, but I think it's on the way.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but they don't have to be like a fitness model, but you would
no,
like to be with them with a healthy lifestyle.
absolutely. You know what I'm most attracted to? Two things. You can make me laugh. Like
Ooh.
I love to laugh.
Yes.
I just love it. And then the second thing is being ambitious and passionate about something.
Yeah.
That's always been a sticky point in the
Yep.
relationships that I've been
Yep.
in because, like, I I I I dig that she may be really into what I'm doing and like that, but I wanna
Yep.
know what you're passionate about, and I wanna be able for you to, like, bring me into your world, and I wanna
Yeah.
be there cheering you on. I wanna be the loudest dude in the room talking about, "Yeah, that's it.
Oh
Get it,
yeah,
babe."
that's
You know, that's what
right.
I want, and I wanna be able to talk
Yeah.
about your friends and call them whack to you. Your friends
Yeah.
suck. You know,
Right.
I want all that. Um,
Yeah.
and
That
and unfortunately, it hasn't worked out right now, and the reality is too is, like, with the schedule being the way it is and so busy that it has kinda taken, like, a back burner, but that is that is a goal that only God knows,
It's
that
yeah.
if there was if
You
I
gotta put
hate to
yourself
even
out
say this.
there. You gotta put
Yeah,
yourself
huh?
out there. You're busy, but you cannot take your love life off the table. That is what someone
Yeah,
told me as a very busy someone who is even busier than me,
yeah.
entrepreneur told me that. And I also, similar to your list, like I made this list of what I was looking for. And it's so interesting that you and I said the same thing. And I think because of the type of people we are, I said, I want to be with someone that loves something more than they love me, which
Mm,
some people are just like, oh, but it's like, you've got to, something's got to fire you up and get you out of the door, almost
right.
like rushing past me, because I get like that sometimes, like, oh my God, I gotta go,
Yeah,
I got an idea. And I want to see that in someone, and I want someone to respect that in me, you know?
yeah,
So
absolutely. That's right
yeah.
on. Wow, very well put.
Well, yes. So I'm gonna say, don't take your love life off the table. And now that we know what you're looking for, maybe you'll find someone. Maybe somebody will slide in your DMs. You never know, Kevin.
Hey,
Um, so before we go, and you can tell me if you want to even touch this or not. Keto thoughts. Do you have any? You have any keto thoughts?
yeah, I did a keto challenge, about a year ago just to do
Okay.
it myself just so I could become more competent. Did it for about 8 to 10 weeks.
Oh,
Um,
really?
it went very well. It's on YouTube. You can see that. It's my
Okay.
transformation picture on there and also the
Okay.
diet and my thoughts on it. Here's where I am with keto today. I think that keto is I don't subscribe to it. I don't endorse this whole idea that keto is a lifelong lifestyle unless you have kind of like a sensitivity to carbs or like you're like diabetic, to be quite honest. I
Okay.
think that keto can serve a really good purpose. If you're trying to slim down for something, for short-term goals, for a photo shoot, for an event, I think that it can be
Mm-hmm.
really helpful. But
Okay.
this whole idea of cutting out almost an entire food group and doing that just I mean, for what? For what?
Right.
I mean, like, if you really get down to to the heart of the matter, why are you doing this? To
Right.
look like someone on Instagram, to look like the company, and I'm not discounting that because I understand and I've been there, and I'm telling you that if you wanna go ahead and do that, that's fine, but I can guarantee that you may end up back at square one eventually, even if you do a good keto run for about 2 or 3 years. Because
Really?
the same people that talk about, "Oh, I'm ketoed out," are the same ones that slide into my DMs and be
Mm.
like, "Hey, how did you transition?"
Right.
And because there listen, I think that we have an entire world here full of amazing foods and different cuisines, and I don't think that God will put us here and say, "You can't eat it." No,
Right.
it's all about being able to enjoy the fullness of life,
Right.
and but it's doing so in the right way, in the right portions, in a calorie
Moderation.
conscious way, and moderation in the way that you prepare the foods. So you can have a fullness. It's just that, keto is great.
Mhm.
Again, think you should talk to your doctor before you do it. Make sure that
Okay.
you can digest fats very well. If you don't
Yeah.
digest fats at all and you know that you don't digest fats, then don't do keto.
Okay.
Um, but it can serve a really good purpose. For the long term though, and from a lifetime standpoint, I think it would be really hard to manage it. I think that you would end up kind of binging out on some
Yeah.
things just because I don't think that that's what it's meant to be unless, again, you are diabetic and then maybe so I would still tell you to maybe do paleo instead of keto because
Paleo.
it's less
Got it.
restrictive. It is kind of restrictive.
Got it. Kevin, I appreciate you taking and making the time for me today. I'm not going to hold you any longer, but everywhere the book is out December 4th,
Yes.
and we can find you at FitMenCook everywhere.
Yes.
Anything
And the book
else?
is available anywhere books are sold.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.